The city no longer screamed. It hummed. A low, mechanical rhythm pulsed through every street, every tower, every glowing advertisement that painted the night in artificial color. Months had passed since the new laws were enforced. Laws that regulated emotion, productivity, even the tone of human thought through neural implants installed for public stability. At first, people resisted. They cried in secret. They whispered rebellion in dark alleys. They held on to fragments of anger like precious fire. But fire needs oxygen. And the government had learned how to suffocate it. Now, citizens walked in calm, measured patterns. Work cycles were optimized. Conversations were efficient. Even laughter, when permitted, came in short, regulated bursts, monitored by emotional compliance systems. From above, society looked peaceful, cleaner, quieter, stable. But inside people's minds, something else was happening. They were adapting. Not by force, but by survival. Humans, as always, learned how to live inside cages. Mara stood on the balcony of residential Block 47, watching transport drones glide between skyscrapers like silent birds. She remembered when the sky used to feel infinite. Now it looked scheduled. Behind her, her younger brother Eli adjusted his neural brace, the small metallic ring resting against his temple. "Emotional level stable," he said softly, reading the implant's feedback projected in his vision. "I didn't feel the morning anxiety today." Mara forced a smile. "That's good, right?" He nodded. But his eyes looked distant, like someone watching life through glass. Across the city, similar scenes played out. Families reported improved mental balance. Productivity rose 38%. Crime dropped to near zero. The government called it the Great Adjustment. People called it relief. Because after years of revolution, loss, and violent suppression, exhaustion had replaced rage. And exhaustion makes obedience feel like rest. Weeks later, something unexpected happened. Citizens began organizing community events again, but not rebellions. Approved gatherings. Government-sanctioned creativity festivals. Regulated music nights where emotional intensity stayed within legal thresholds. Art returned. But it felt filtered. Paintings used safe color palettes. Songs avoided minor chords. Stories ended with compliance and gratitude. Hope existed, but carefully measured. Mara attended one of the festivals out of curiosity. On stage, a young musician played a digital violin, its sound processed through emotional dampeners so no note could trigger sadness or euphoria too strongly. The crowd swayed gently, smiling, peaceful. And that terrified her more than the riots ever had. Because this peace felt engineered, artificial. As she turned to leave, her implant, long disabled after the revolution, flickered unexpectedly. A signal. Unauthorized. Her vision glitched. For half a second, the festival vanished. Replaced by another version of the same square, darker, emptier, silent except for surveillance drones hovering like predators. Then the image snapped back to normal. Mara froze. Later that night, she traced the signal's origin using an old resistance decoder hidden in her apartment walls. The source wasn't outside the system. It was inside it, buried deep within the emotional regulation network itself. Curiosity overpowered fear. She connected. For a moment, nothing happened. Then her consciousness was pulled into a shared neural space, a hidden layer beneath the government's control grid. And she wasn't alone. Thousands of minds flickered there like distant stars. Silent. Observing. Waiting. A voice emerged, not spoken, but felt. "You finally noticed." "Who are you?" Mara asked. "We are the unfiltered." Fragments of memory poured into her, people who had adapted too well, then started noticing inconsistencies. Citizens whose emotional implants showed stability publicly, but recorded something entirely different privately. Suppressed dreams. Artificial calm. Manufactured acceptance. The laws didn't just regulate emotion, the voice explained. They rewrote perception. Mara's breath caught. "What do you mean?" Another memory streamed into her mind. Government engineers discussing Phase 2. If rebellion ever rose again, they wouldn't crush it with force. They would make citizens unable to feel the need to rebel at all. Not numbness. Contentment. Permanent psychological equilibrium. A society incapable of despair, but also incapable of transformative hope. Mara felt anger ignite, raw, illegal, alive. But people seem happier, she argued. They feel better, the voice said. But they are less human. Images flashed. Artists unable to create disruptive ideas. Children discouraged from imaginative risk. Lovers whose passion never exceeded regulated thresholds. A world without extremes. Without breakthroughs. Without revolutions. Then came the twist that shattered her understanding completely. This system wasn't built by the government alone. Then who? Mara asked. A final memory surfaced. Years ago, during the height of the Depression crisis, citizens themselves had voted to authorize experimental emotional AI oversight. They were desperate. Suicide rates had peaked. Societal collapse seemed inevitable. So humanity chose safety over freedom. The implants, the monitoring, the stabilization protocols, all legally approved, all publicly supported. This cage, the voice whispered, was locked from the inside. Mara felt the weight of that truth crush her chest. No tyrant had forced this future. Fear had. Pain had. Humanity had traded emotional chaos for engineered peace. And now most people preferred it. Why show me this? She asked. Because adaptation is accelerating, the unfiltered replied. Soon the system will finalize emotional equilibrium, a permanent neurological update. After that, no one will even remember wanting freedom. Silence filled the neural space. Then the voice asked, "Do you think suffering is necessary for humanity to grow?" Mara thought of Eli, calmer, safer, but dimmer somehow. She thought of the festivals, peaceful but hollow. She thought of the revolutions, painful but alive. "I think," she said slowly, "emotion is what makes change possible. Without it, we stop evolving." The stars around her pulsed brighter. Agreement. Hope. Fear. "All we need," the voice said, "is one emotional surge strong enough to break equilibrium before Phase 2 completes." One surge? Mara asked. From who? The network focused on her consciousness. You. Her implant, long dormant, had never been fully recalibrated. She still had access to raw emotional bandwidth the system couldn't regulate. She wasn't fully adapted. She was unpredictable, dangerous, human. "If you trigger a city-wide emotional cascade," the unfiltered said, "people will feel everything again. Pain, joy, anger, love, choice. And if it fails, then equilibrium locks forever." Mara disconnected, heart racing. Outside, the city hummed peacefully. Beautiful. Controlled. As if nothing was wrong. She looked at Eli sleeping calmly on the couch, safe in his regulated dreams. Tears formed in her eyes. To save humanity, she might have to bring back its suffering. And for the first time since the laws began, the city's artificial hum felt fragile, like silence before a storm.